Good evening and welcome to another episode of at HC Highlanders Live. I'm Jason Muker, Associate AD for Compliance and Communication, joined tonight by, as always, our Athletic Director, Dr. Matthew Webb. And we have a special guest tonight. We're going to provide you some updates from the Athletic Department. So we've been able to go to the office, but tonight we're doing our show from home, a little more convenient. So you got used to us in the early spring of seeing us from the confines of our home, but we've been able to, on a limited basis, with following all the precautions, go into the office a little bit more, which is all good. New York, where we are working and recording and producing this from, is, I don't know, phase 3, phase 4. I don't know what phase we're in right now. All states are in different phases, different points, what's allowed, what's not allowed. So we're following those protocols. The college is moving forward with launching our classes in person and with some hybrid models, online models for this fall. And we're excited about that. A little bit change of schedule, but students are being made aware of what that means for the semester. Athletics also moving full steam ahead with returning, getting athletes returned at our typical time, what we would normally do for our fall athletes, August 19th. The start of competition will be delayed a little bit, but we're putting in all our precautions and protocols and for dealing with COVID and how that pertains to athletics. And we'll let Matt talk a little bit more on that, and he will introduce our guest. Take it away, Matt.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. Like Jason said, it's been good to be in the office. It's primarily just Jason and myself. Addie, office manager, is in a few days a week, but it's mostly just Jason and I. But it's good to get back into the routine and being in the office. And so, like Jason said, we are getting ready for students to return. Mark Smithers, our Dean of Students, is sending out a weekly sort of update with additional information each week about just what it means to be returning, relative to housing, relative to COVID policies, relative to how classes are going to work and those sorts of things. And as he's communicating that with all the students in general, we're sort of finalizing our plans for what athletics is going to look like. We're spending a lot of time sort of collaborating with our conference and our colleagues at the Empire 8 institutions that we compete against. And we have 2 meetings next week to hopefully finalize some things. But like Jason said, we're full go, planning for fall athletes to return on August 19th, which was the original start date. There will be a delay. The NCAA has instituted some resocialization guidelines, which we will be implementing for a return to play sort of procedure. And so contests for our fall sports aren't going to start until mid to late September. And it will end up being a shortened season for the fall sports, but the plan is to get a full conference season in with some non-conference games prior to that. And then at this point, plans for the winter and spring sports are all in place, and we're hoping those things move forward. But as we're coming to know more and more, things change and things get updated and altered, and so we're ready for that, but we're hoping for the best and planning for everyone to be back and resume our fall athletic schedule. So it's my privilege now to introduce to you Emily Blosdale, who just graduated this year, cross-country track and field athlete, most recently recognized as the Empire 8 Woman of the Year. So congratulations on that recognition, Emily, to just really go on top of a whole bunch of other awards over your 4 years. So thanks for being with us today. And just want to talk with you a little bit about your Houghton experience, and we can take some sort of rabbit trails in terms of how that discussion goes. But why don't you start just by sharing with us how you ended up at Houghton? You're from Canada, and how did you sort of end up at Houghton to pursue your academic sort of next 4 years of college, and obviously, you know, running for Coach Hager in our cross country and track and field program?
Yeah, so I found out about Houghton at a Christian college fair, and I'd been considering going to school at a Christian university, but hadn't necessarily decided that. But when I found out about Houghton and that it had business and accounting studies as well as equestrian studies, which was a hobby of mine, and and I was interested in pursuing that. And I kind of found out that Houghton offered all of that on a Christian campus. It was really intriguing to me, and I went and visited. I found out about the EMW honors program, and got invited to interview for that. So that was kind of an added bonus on there. And then being contacted by coach to run cross country initially was kind of all of those things sealed the deal for me, and I was really interested. And visiting Houghton, I loved it. So yeah, just kind of after finding out about it, it was pretty much like, how can I make going to Houghton work? So that was pretty sweet.
So you were a business major, you were an equestrian minor, you ran cross country, track and field, which, I mean, that's an all year round sort of commitment. Unlike some of our other sports where you compete in the fall, and yeah, you might have a non-traditional season in the spring, but it's a lot less. Tell us about just balancing all of that. Now, you said equestrian was a hobby. You made that an academic minor.
Mm-hmm.
Did you bring your own horse here? Do you have your own horse? How'd you balance all of that?
So I just rode the school horses that we have. We have a bunch of awesome school horses, and I was taking classes, and that was my main involvement through it. I know there's a lot of other additional involvement that you can get, but that was kind of my main focus. And so I'd be up there usually 2-3 times a week. It was busy. Sometimes I'd be going from practice, sometimes, having a packed lunch dinner, maybe. Sometimes I was skipping that, and I wouldn't get home from the barn until 10 o'clock at night, and it would just be, it was busy at first, and it was a lot of demand on the body for sure, and a lot of activity, especially during the end. And actually, this is kind of a funny story. I got thrown off a horse a week before a championship meet. I think that was my sophomore year, and I remember coming to coach, and I was like, Coach, I don't want to tell you what I'm going to tell you, but I'm limping. Like, I can't even walk right now. Managed to be able to run in that race and did just fine. I had a week to recover, but definitely that was something that I know, you run a different risk when you're involved in that too.
Sure.
But yeah, it was just kind of it was a busy schedule, but I think having the passion for all those things and people that drive you for that just make it worthwhile. So yeah.
So Emily, tell us a little bit about the highs and lows of this year. You were a member of the first ever team Empire 8 champion as a member of the women's cross country team that won the Empire 8 this fall. Then you're in your senior year, leader on the track and field team. Outdoor track and field gets canceled because of COVID. And so I imagine there's probably a lot of great memories, positive things about what happened in the fall. That was exhilarating. It was exciting. And then big letdown, disappointment, I'm sure, in the spring. Talk us through just sort of how you remember this past year. Now that it's behind you, you've graduated, you're a Houghton alum, I think, right? You passed, you were a good student.
Yeah.
Maybe talk us through sort of your experience this senior year, which is going to go down as like one of the craziest years ever for athletes.
Yeah, definitely thinking back on the fall. I mean, my whole time at Houghton was wonderful, but the fall was really cool, having that goal to win, and that it seemed really real. And so going through that whole season, even the summer leading up to that, I remember there were some days where I'd be like, I don't know, you don't want to go for a run. It's hot outside, right? Like, but that run, though maybe missing one run doesn't matter, those runs all build up and they matter. And so it was definitely cool to have that mindset going into the fall of every run matters because we have this chance. And so when you get to the end or the night before, and we were in our huddle before the race, like those are moments where you kind of, it quickly flashes back everything that's built up to that, and the final at the end of just, we're waiting for these results. We think we won, but we don't know yet, and we just need to know if the results are official. Like, definitely, like a lot of just excitement and anticipation, a lot of gritty moments we had to go through. Preseason and early fall training is hot and pretty grueling getting back into it, but I think just overall too, our team is a neat environment. We're really close family. I think a lot of teams at Houghton are like that, but I think just it was cool to see the way that not only our women's team, the excitement that we have there, but our men's team was definitely pretty supportive of that for us. So sharing that together and kind of having that carry us into our track season was really exciting. We had a great end to our indoor season too. I think it was one of our better performances for Houghton. But definitely finding out after having such a high finish, like I know for me personally, that was probably one of my more intense competition weekends. I got thrown into an extra event. We had a teammate who ended up being sick, so I got thrown into another race, and everything went smoothly in that sense. So I was kind of riding on a high of I'm in a really strong place as a runner. Coach put a lot of work into kind of developing my skill. I didn't come to Houghton with much, but yeah, I guess letting go of that. I think a lot of us came home and were continuing to run. I know I ran probably twice the mileage that I was doing at school because that was the normal. That was something that I was able to hold on to kind of keep me sane through it. So, but we've been able to connect as a team offline or online, and I think that's been a great way to stay connected. And I'm really hoping that the border opens up soon so that I can visit some people. But it's been definitely an interesting time recently. So.
Yeah, it has. You mentioned sort of how close you were as a team, and assume sort of most teams like at Houghton are like that, and I think that's probably true. I know for me, yeah, I haven't been as close to your team, obviously, but I did get to experience the gathering that you guys had at the end of the fall at President Mullen's house, and that was really, really a neat time for me to see your team just sort of be together and celebrate together, winning that championship. Why don't you describe a little bit, like, how would you describe the culture of your team and maybe why it is so special? What's Coach Hager done to sort of facilitate that camaraderie and that drive to compete and allowing you to be successful as a student also? And what has made it so special to be part of the cross country track and field team?
I think probably one of the best things is that we're a team of, I would say, very varied ability in some ways. Like we've got our top runners, and I think that helps to drive the competitive level. But I think because coach also prioritizes bringing athletes on that are just really dedicated to wanting to be there, and they show up and they work hard. I think those people bring also just a personality and an energy to the group that really makes it a healthy environment because it doesn't have to always be about your performance. And so that to me was something special, especially coming in and not really being a top runner. Like I just showed up and I was there to work hard every day. And I think with coach bringing that as the expectation, obviously he's going to say, if you can win, like, please. But just that the energy that I think he brings and that we're here to do our best. I think for me, it's always been in running. You have the opportunity every single time to beat yourself. Like that's how I've always looked at it, and just to improve. So I think that kind of environment that we have just allows for that positivity and that always striving to be better. Yeah, and I think also coach has just demonstrated himself. He's a pretty avid runner. He runs circles around us all day. So I think just him setting that precedent has built this environment. And then just that everyone's always there encouraging each other. Probably while you were coaching soccer, you would see there always seems to be one workout in a year where we just go nuts around the track, just screaming at each other as we're running in that last 100 meters. And I feel like the soccer team is probably always looking and going, what are they doing?
What is going on with those runners?
They've been running circles this whole time. Like what makes this one different? But when it's at the end of like all of these other miles and it's like way faster, it's worth a cheer home to the finish line. So yeah. Well,
it was a lot of fun when I called Coach Hager after the E8 meet in the fall. Most often, after a meet, I'd call or he'd call me and, how'd it go? And he'd like, oh, we had a great race today. We had 8 PRs and we had, this person ran really well and competed. And you're right. Like, how can you, and then, but, if we didn't win the meet or whatever we placed, you can't argue with a PR. Like, if you ran the best you've ever run before and you don't win, well, like, how can you argue with getting a PR, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was really funny when I called him after the E8 meet. He answered the phone and he was like, hello, and I said, hey, Pat, how'd it go? He goes, we won. He goes, we won today. Like, just very matter of factly, like, we won. He didn't tell me anything about any individual performances or PRs. It was just, we won. And I think you were at your post game meal at a restaurant and both teams were there eating and just having fun. And he was just like, it was great. We won. And then he told me about how close it was and how tight it was. And they're watching the times and making sure afterwards, like, we don't want to celebrate too early. We want to confirm that this is all right. And so it was a lot of fun on our end too. I wasn't there, but to get the call and just hear his excitement for you guys, and it was really fun. So Emily, tell us a little bit. What are you doing now? You've graduated. You're done. You're off into the real world now, back in Canada. What's next for you in post Houghton days?
Yeah, so actually about a month ago, I got hired on as a financial claims analyst at a company called NGen Canada. It's actually a government initiative, kind of super cluster. There's 6 different sections of them, and this is the manufacturing sector. So I'm essentially working through the finance side, obviously, but we have projects that come in just to improve domestic manufacturing. But during COVID, we've had a lot of projects. We put out challenges for companies to essentially respond to needs that we're seeing in breakdowns of supply chains. And PPE has been a big one, face shields, those kinds of things. So we're actually financing companies to run projects that are making things that are very much needed right now in today's COVID world. So it's been busy to be onboarded and joining and all of that, but it's been really neat to get involved. It's all remote work, and it will be probably for the next foreseeable future.
So you're doing all your work from home.
Yeah. So my exercise, my runs are my escape from that, to kind of break up being in the house all day. But it's been really good to be able to join in and be challenged in this way. And it's a not-for-profit because it's through the government. So it's kind of neat to see that my Houghton education has taken me there, because I'm not only just doing the financial side, but I have more of a purpose to what I'm doing. And there's some real takeaway from that. So that's exciting.
I'd be interested in hearing a little bit about one of the things that I'm just so proud of all of our athletes is so many of our athletes are involved in so many things outside of sport and for the betterment of others. And I know you were involved in a project at home, the Jamaica Joy Project in Brantford. Tell us a little bit about that, what that is, and how you were involved with that. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah. So that was about my sophomore year that we really were focused on that. But we have family friends through the church that run a home in Jamaica for kind of underprivileged kids. She started and was doing a lot of work, mainly in Kingston and some pretty rough neighborhoods, but she's since moved out into one of the poorest townships in Jamaica. But she's got this home, and it's not necessarily like an institutionalized home, which I think makes it really good in the sense that the kids get to grow up in a way that's closer to normal. And, she's providing clothes for them and meals and everything, but they also get to be involved in running a home. And so we got involved in doing a bunch of fundraising to be able to go down to do tiling work, painting work, plumbing, electrical of this home, because it was pretty old and outdated. And some of, I think, the electrical was likely dangerous. But so we did a bunch of fundraising, and this was mostly actually my family that was doing it through our church. We had sponsorship through them, but raised a lot of money just for supplies to be able to take down for them. And then we traveled down and we were there for about a week doing this project work. And on the side, we also found a day to go to a school for children with disabilities and run some programming for them too. So it was a really neat opportunity. I had done submissions before coming to Houghton in high school, so it was just neat to be able to do that and kind of keep that up. And since my parents they went again last year, they didn't invite me that time, but the coach was probably happy because I didn't miss a week of track, but they've gone down and we've kept in touch with them and we continue to send supplies down. So it's just been really nice to be able to partner with that home and keep that relationship going, because otherwise it's probably a smaller ministry that might be overlooked. So yeah.
No, that's really cool. That's just so fun to hear. One of the things that I've just said for years in working with all of our teams and really tried to emphasize is the idea of being others focused. And obviously we've got a huge sort of sports ministry tradition and foundation at Houghton. So that's something you were doing on your own, not Houghton sport related, but it's just evidence of sort of who you are and what motivates you. So that's just really neat to hear. So
we did play soccer on the beach. So
there you go. Perfect. Yeah, if you're in Jamaica, you're going to be playing soccer or sprinting, right? I mean, Jamaica's got all the sprinters.
Also race.
You did some racing.
Some lines in the sand and we raced back and forth. So that was a lot of fun. And
but probably no distance racing, right?
Did you? No. You're teaching them how to swim. They don't swim.
They don't swim.
It's kind of interesting. They're more afraid of the water. So we were teaching the kids. My sister's a lifeguard, so she was teaching them some lessons. So that was cool too.
Oh, well, that's great. Mm-hmm. That's great. Well, thanks, Emily, for being with us. And again, congratulations just on a great senior year. I know the outdoor season was cut short, but E8 champions in cross country, scholar athlete, E8 woman of the year. Thanks for representing Houghton and our athletic department so well. We're really proud of you. And thanks for being here with us tonight.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
Our pleasure.
Okay.